This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Former Vice President Mike Pence has become a key witness in the federal criminal case against former President Trump. Susan Ferricchio reports special counsel Jack Smith's 4-count indictment of Trump on charges he tried to overturn the 2020 election features a set of contemporaneous notes by Pence. The notes detailed private phone calls and other conversations Pence held with Trump in late 2020 and early 2021, when Trump was looking for ways to overturn the presidential election results. According to Smith, Pence's notes and grand jury testimony this year showed Trump repeated knowingly false claims of election fraud and directly pressured the vice president to use his ceremonial role to fraudulently overturn the results of the election. Fitch Ratings has downgraded the federal government's credit rating. Alex Miller and Kerry Pickett report Fitch dropped the long-term foreign currency issuer default rating to AA+, a step down from the top-tier AAA rating for only the second time in history. Fitch cited a steady deterioration in standards of governance over the past 2 decades as a reason for the rating cut. Richard Francis, co-head of Fitch, said the bigger issue was Republican and Democratic brinksmanship in Washington over the debt ceiling. Although the rating is still highly favorable, the drop could downgrade bonds and increase interest rates. Of the 3 top ratings agencies, only Moody's still has the United States at AAA. Retailers have ordered employees to ignore shoplifters and started firing workers who buck the policy. Sean Salab reports apparel retailer Lululemon fired 2 Atlanta area employees who called the police in May after following masked thieves out of their store. Lululemon insisted it terminated the workers for following the shoplifters, not for calling the police. And last month, news outlets reported that King Soopers fired a Colorado employee after he captured 3 shoplifters on video leaving the supermarket with $500 worth of laundry detergent. The employee called the police and posted the video to TikTok. Capital One estimates losses from retail thefts nationwide will jump from $86 billion last year to at least $115 billion in 2025. The National Retail Federation reported in June that 53% of consumers said retail crimes such as shoplifting and looting have increased in their communities since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. A group of university presidents and immigration rights activists say that colleges should turn to immigration to pursue their diversity goals as they struggle with the Supreme Court's ruling striking down affirmative action in school admissions. Stephen Dinan reports the groups released new research showing that students from immigrant families account for nearly 1/3 of students on American campuses and drove 80% of colleges' enrollment growth over the past 2 decades. Hispanics account for 44% of students from immigrant families, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders comprise 24%, and Black students represent 13%. And finally, U.S. officials say Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu's rare trip to North Korea last week is not a sign of a flourishing alliance, but the latest indication of Russia's mounting desperation over its war in Ukraine. Andrew Salmon reports Shoigu was making the first visit to North Korea by a Russian defense minister since the collapse of the Soviet Union. His presence underscored Russia's lack of active supporters and its reliance on its partners that it traditionally despised. Pentagon spokesperson Patrick Ryder told reporters that Shoigu was on a shopping trip to rebuild Russia's depleted arsenal as the stalemated military campaign in Ukraine approaches the 18-month mark. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.